Welcome back. Last video we did two colorways with this same treatment with Pan Pastels. We made a great big mess and then I did a glaze over it. So I finished the colorway that was blue and did two versions of that, and I didn't have enough time, so this is the second part of that, and we're doing the pink colorway. So what we did last week, as you can remember, is we did all this, the background mark making, then we made the mess, then we added our white glaze, and here we have it. And I wanted to embellish this and go further with it because I'm so in love with this, how this turned out so far. I'm going to do something different this time. Last time we took it further with the glazing and dribbling paint. This time I want to add printed tissues, and instead of doing just white printed tissues, I've got a whole stash of beautiful, bright, happy colored printed tissues that aren't necessarily patterns from stencils. What I want to show you is that there are some nice edges along there where the details fades into the distance off to the left and off to the right, and I like what's happening there. So I'm going to use that, and I'm just playing around with colors that I think will work well together. And even though this is a very deep gold, you can see wherever the tissue is cleared that it will pick up. Once we glue it down, it would pick up colors from the background. So I'll set that aside, not too sure yet, but it's an option. This one's a lot of fun. There are two sections there that have all the colors we need, and I could tear away some of that and start embellishing this big sheet of mine. I like that a lot. And on the bottom there, who knows, there's interesting detail there as well. So, oh, and then this one, I really, really love this one, and I like it so much that I think I'm going to use the greater part of that sheet. I don't want to put the whole thing down because I don't want that excess blank tissue paper on the top and bottom. And then here's another option which I love. I don't know if I'm going to use it for a top layer or not, but it's a good option. We've got lots of stuff to play with here. All I know is that what we've got on our background sheet there is just the first background. We're going to do a mid-layer and then we'll embellish that for a top layer. So we've got a lot of work to do, so let's get started. I'm going to use clear water and a paintbrush to tear away the part of this tissue print that I want to keep and apply to our painting. It's a little harder at that point, even with water, to tear it apart because there's so much paint on it, but we'll give it a go. I just don't want to cut it. I want to keep things more organic, so I want to sort of tear it away raw. I don't want straight cut lines or edges. Look at that. You can already tell that this is going to do some magic to our page. I'm just playing around with it. I still have tissue to remove there, so I'll get my brush out, wet it, and tear away again, have a nice rough organic edge to it so that when I glue this down to the background paper, you won't even know that there was tissue paper involved. If you haven't figured it out by now with all my videos, you know that I love doing printed tissues and I love putting them as a layer. This is just my technique. Everybody's got different styles. This is mine. And I love how organic and intuitive and playful it is. I'm going to use gloss medium this time. The reason why is I want to enhance the brightness of this background, and in adding gloss medium, that will just enhance and bring out more of the happy brightness of it. The matte medium dries a little more matte and subdues it, makes it more chalky looking, and I'm ready to start making this as vibrant as I can as I work. So I'm putting a good layer underneath of the area where I'm going to place this down of the gloss medium, which is my glue. I'm going to overlap that red patch there a little bit so that there's more white on that spot. And I'm going to get the paint spreader out to spread it safely without pushing too hard with the brush, which can destroy the tissue. So I'm just softly pressing it down in all the directions from the middle outward, and I love that already. There's a little bit of a fold there, and if you do it before it dries, if you gently pull that up, you can pull that out a little bit, the tissue, and get rid of the fold, but that requires practice. If I would have done that and it didn't work, I wouldn't have cried. I wouldn't have worried. All the mistakes are happy mistakes, and I don't mind. Again, this is very intuitive. So we've got a good start happening here. As I add more and more layers and patterns, it starts to very slowly reveal to me what it wants to be. But right now, it's one large sheet. I know at one point I'm going to isolate and just make one painting from it. I don't know if it'll be square, rectangle, profile, landscape. I have no idea what kind of orientation it will be. I'm just right now putting down patches of pattern, print, and colors and shapes. Takes quite a few layers and efforts and overlaps of tissue prints here to figure out what it's trying to tell me. I do love this happy gold color. And again, this is just paper and it's just acrylic. If I don't like anything, I can either remove it before it dries or I can paint over it. I like how that bit of raspberry color shape on the top there shows up, and I kept that as part of the part of the tissue there. I like that a lot. And it's happily speaking to all the orange scribbly colors in the background. Now don't worry that I put that down and then I overlap, because overlaps are a good thing, because sometimes part of that still shows through and peeks through. So have patience and watch, because you'll see how this will develop into something wonderful. Again, I'm using the water to tear away. I don't want cut lines. And I've sped this up so that you don't get bored. If you have one of those water pens that you put water in the holder and then you use that, you squeeze it and brush it, that works as well. But I prefer doing this. It's handy. I don't need any special gimmicky brushes. This works just fine. It's a great way to isolate what you want from the tissue print. I really, really like this particular print because there's a lot of white in it as well, and that gives me layers with the white popping forward and deeper colors going in the background. And I am going to place this whole piece, so I'm going to have to put gloss medium over this entire page. I'll speed that up. Again, I'm going to cover over some of those two areas that I've already done, but don't worry, that's part of the process. You have to be brave with this process, but the results are so very rewarding. I'm just crazy about this print. I do have several videos in all my playlists on printing tissue paper, and if you didn't catch them before, you can catch them now. It doesn't matter if I'm doing it with a stencil print for pattern or if I'm doing it where I just put paint on the gel plate and lift it with tissue paper. Watch those videos and you'll see how I do it. Just making sure that every area has a lot of medium down there to glue it down. With such a big sheet, the gloss medium starts to dry, and I really want to make sure this tissue paper is down firm. Look at what's happening here. It's so organic. I didn't even plan how that was going to sit over top the other layer. It just works out, and I'm happy with the result. I'm getting some of the deeper colors are now getting pushed into the background by the beautiful pale whites and pinks that I just put over top. I do like making layers and lots of levels of depth, lots of different values of pinks and oranges and yellows and whites. It's all fun. It's all color movement and energy. There are a few wrinkles there from the tissue, but don't worry about that. That can either flatten and disappear, or it could look like it's just part of paint strokes. I don't worry about that. I keep pulling this out because it is a happy option, but it would be a top layer. So I want to add more color and depth in the background before I consider putting that down, because that would be my very topmost layer. Here's another fun one. I'm trying to bring out deeper colors, because when I put white tissue and white paint over top, I want to have the contrast of the dark underneath and the lighter on top. And again, this is where I showed you where I like how the, I'm tearing all the way from top to bottom, and I like how the left side of the print disappears into nothing onto the tissue. See that? Look how it'll just be dark at the side and then disappear. That's really fun. I'm going to isolate the tissue I don't need, but I'm staying a little bit away from the edge because I want to enhance, I want to capture and hold on to the effect of the opaque paint disappearing into nothing. So this is a good way to tear it away and show that you've got the pink and the orange paint slowly disappearing and getting distressed and disappearing into nothing. Look how fun that is. And before, when I had this background, you might recall from the last video when I made it, that there are little bits of periwinkle blue in the background, and that worked okay as it was. But now that I'm choosing these bright, happy pinks and yellows, I no longer want that periwinkle blue to be a focal point. So I'm going to try to cover up some of that blue there in that spot right there, trying to cover that up with some happy pink. The joy of using these tissues is that you can rotate and move it around until you're absolutely sure you like the placement, and then you glue it down. It's such a good trick. Look what's happening to this page already. I'm really delighted. I like to have busy areas. I like to have big patches of something bold. I like to have calm areas for the eye to rest. I like to have white fuzzy areas. I'm going to try to capture all of this today. Let's grab the other side of that, because again, on the right there, same thing. I want that to slowly disappear into the center of the page. Only this time I'm going to paste this to the right side. And I'm not going to use the entire page. I'm going to use just part of it. I don't like things to be symmetrical. I like balance on my page, but I like asymmetry. Makes it more interesting. So let's play around with how we want that to sit, knowing full well I'm going to cover a lot of that yellow that I pasted on there before, and that's okay. Quite all right. I'm going to isolate with water where I'm going to try to tear it away. Again, it's a little harder to tear away because there's paint, a lot of paint on that tissue. Look at the fun of that. What I like about this piece that I'm putting down now as well is there are a few smudgy, almost like thumbprints of yellow throughout it, and that helps disperse the color of yellow around the page, and it allows the eye to move around the page. When I have three colors, I like to have it represented throughout. Look at that. That's so fun. This is magic. Absolutely magic. And wherever there was a clear area of tissue print, that shows up now and reveals what was below. Isn't that fun? I'm reorienting it just to see what inspires me, but right now there is no actual theme or painting idea coming out at me. It still needs some work, but it will pop out and I'll know it when I know it. I appreciate your support, and if you can like and comment and share, that's wonderful, because I love it. I love hearing your comments. I'm doing this for you, and hearing your comments is wonderful. I am going to put more yellow down because I did cover up in that area, but what I covered up was a little deeper. This is a brighter yellow, and it will better match the brighter yellow in the top left of this page. So Even though I covered a lot of it, let's put some more down. So I want to balance it down here with more of that bright yellow. And I love these little smudgy areas, which I call thumbprints, of the yellow throughout. And that way we've got a nice balance all over this large page of the yellow. We've got a good balance of the pink, and we've got a good balance of the white. And there is some orange in there as well. So we've got quite a bit of depth of colors and values happening here, and lots of depth and shading. I'm happy. It still hasn't told me what it is yet, but we're working on it. We're getting there. I like how there's some very deep areas of raspberry in there as well. That's what provides interest. And on that note, I want to put some of that in the bottom. Twofold. I want to add more of the raspberry, and I want to cover a couple of patches on the very bottom edge that are that periwinkle blue from the background. I want to cover that up. And in doing this, I'm creating big patches of shapes. If you squint your eyes and look, those patches of raspberry are jumping forward, and they're very clearly showing you some interesting trapezoidal type shapes. All of this provides interest. So I'm going to cover up that blue. I'm adding a new patch and shape. I'm adding more raspberry. All of this works. And I like how that tore away and separated. I've got a patch of white shape there now. All of this is happening. It's wonderful. I love it. I couldn't have thought of painting this. It would never have occurred to me to sit down and just start painting it, but it just happens. And at this point, options are starting to open up. I'm starting to get a feel for where I want to enhance, where I want to coax some more pattern. And I want to get rid of some of that white in the bottom there, and that orange right there. And I'm going to put a little bit of this new piece, which has got more orange and pink in it, and it just provides sort of a slightly busier texture. The other ones are shapes. This is texture. And I like that. I like the variety of texture, shapes, color, lines, you name it. I think that helped a lot. So even though nothing is symmetrical, it's balancing. I'm just coaxing some of it to lie flat. Wherever there was a lot of paint, and I like that white that's showing up there as well. But anyway, wherever there was a lot of paint on the tissue, it's a little harder to stay flat if you didn't have a lot of glue down. So I was just coaxing that down with my fingers. I'm looking at the pattern of the white and how it's moving around the page, and that's interesting too. So I'm going to let that dry. And in the meantime, I've got this other bit of orange, and I'm thinking, you know what, let's bring a really bold shape. And you see that shape right there on the right? I'm going to isolate that, bring that onto my painting. It's bold, but it's worth a try. If I don't like it, I can rip that back off of the painting before it dries completely. But I'm going to be bold and give this a try. Now I don't want just that strip of brush stroke. I want a little bit of the pattern that goes with it. So I'm going to tear that away and include some of this background. Just a bit though, just a bit. Just providing a new shape, a new focal point on our painting. That's fun. You got to take risks. And I'm thinking that patch on the right there, this would be fun to overlap it and almost stem in either direction from that. And it kind of makes sense on the painting, how they kind of work together. They work off of each other. I'm happy with that. It's provided all of a sudden, instantly it's giving me inspiration for where this wants to go. I could have taken just a big brush, dipped it into some solid, heavier paste paint and put that down on there, but if I didn't like it, I would have been stuck with it. So this way, it just gives me a better feel for how it will look before it's permanent. Now I've got to keep it as far left as I can because some of that will get hidden in the matte frame, and I don't want it to be off to the side. I want it to stick away from the edge and still have some pink on the right of that. So let's put that in place. I hope you can see already that this is taking shape. This page is already saying I'm something. I'm close. I like that that overlaps the piece underneath. Now it's dry. I cut all the edges so that the excess tissue is cut off, and that helps me to look at it with new eyes. I'm pulling this out again and I'm trying to decide, do I want it? Here's another option you could do. Get something clear, get a dark. I didn't want to use black. This is a very dark magenta, and it would be fun. I'm just showing you that I didn't use it, but it's showing you that these are options. I didn't have that over tissue paper. I just had it on a piece of acetate, but it's a great trick to decide if you want to put these kinds of things. And look at how that's wonderful. That's quite almost Japanese looking. I quite love that. It would work. But again, these are just options. I wouldn't put the plastic on my painting. I'm just placing it there to get an idea. And if I liked what it was doing, I would just get a tube of that dark color and I would just squirt it onto the page and let it dry. So this is just a good trick to give you ideas for options. I could put the white down first and this over top, or I could put some of these marks down below and then this tissue over, but I'm finding that gets a little too busy. So let's keep working. I just wanted to show you that as an option. I'm not going to use those today, but I could have. I want to develop this a little more, so let's get out gel sticks. Haven't done those yet. I'm just going to pick some colors that work. By the way, sometimes I do a full background page. Instead of Pan Pastels, I use these gel sticks and I smear them around. Then I add water and activate them and smear that around, and it gets a very similar effect. I like showing you options for achieving a similar result in two different ways. But these are fun. They're water soluble, so I can play around with this, and if I don't like it, I can remove it. But what I'm doing is pressing really hard because I don't want it to look like a crayon. I want it to smudge and look like shading. So I'm pressing quite firmly. But again, if I don't like any of this, I can remove it with a wet wipe because it is very water soluble. It's like lipstick. It's a really yummy texture. And it really is fun to enhance colors and shading. And because I have so many colors, more colors of those than I do of paint, it's fun to bring them out and see what options I can come up with. So right now I'm trying to do shading so that that strip that I painted, glued down, looks like it's really floating on the top. Again, none of this is permanent. I'm just playing. I could smudge that away if I want. I mean, I could wipe it off. But let's keep going and see where we can go with this. This one's got a little bit of orange in the pink, so it's a new color. It's bringing out a new dimension, which is kind of fun. They all work well together. If I keep a lot of this more orangey color, I've got orange, pink, and yellow as my main colors, and then I would still consider white to be my accent, my contrast accent. And all of it would work. I'm playing around with depth here, but the story is still not popping out at me. All I'm doing is coaxing and giving options so that something will speak to me eventually. And when it happens, it just happens. And then I know it, and I know it instantly. And it's so rewarding because they're happy surprises. I'm quite liking bringing out more of that orange. It works well with the fuchsia, with the magenta. You can see how the painting's starting to come alive. It's starting to tease me into something that it wants to be. I'm going to spray it with water and wipe some of that back. And you can see how watery and wet that got. It's totally removable. So I'm just trying to get more of a glaze effect instead of a smudge effect. Now, because it's so water soluble, you would have to glaze this over. Once it dries, you'd have to put a fixative, which I would just do a full coating of gloss medium, and that would set it. Otherwise, it could smear off. I'm just trying to make these colors work together and make sense as far as balance around the page. Now I'm working on that top half, but now I'm going to turn around and consider the top half this way because I don't want to rule anything out. I have not decided which part of this painting I'm going to isolate and matte and frame. I want to bring out some of this lemon yellow on top of the white. I did it over the white so that it stays as a true yellow. But I'm thinking it's quite a fun layer. I love bringing forward ovals and circles, and that's what I'm doing here. It's a sort of a trademark thing that I do. And I love it when they pop to the surface. I'm going to bring out a paler pink and see how that works. And what I'm doing is just subduing some of the busy background and making it a little more even and less busy. And hopefully that will enhance the yellows that I've just added. Again, if I don't like any of this, I can wipe it off. Because there's so many coatings of gloss medium on this page, it acts as a plastic surface so that when I put these gel sticks over top, they could come right off of that surface. A little bit like coloring on glass at this point. It's totally removable. There's a big smudge there. It's not a smudge, it's a thick piece of paint that is stuck on there like a big wart. So I'm stuck with that as a mark, and that's okay. These paintings are intuitive, and if that's where it is, that's where it is, and I live with it. It's all part of the mark making. I do like bringing back some of the smudgy effect. It just gives more textures across the page. You can't get that effect by getting a paintbrush and just painting that. You've got to smudge it around. I still don't know what the story is, but I'm just coaxing everything to come forward. Let's turn that around again. Sometimes it doesn't jump out at me until I get the frame, the matte, and isolate an area, and then it just jumps out loud and clear, because right now I'm still not sure. But as soon as you put a frame there, look at that. Look at how you can see right there how these little mini masterpieces just jump forward. I could cut this apart into probably at least 4 mini paintings. There are so many options, but I really like the idea of a square. And again, I would like the idea of keeping square this time, and I think that just looks amazing. I'm just going to shift that a bit so that it balances. I love that. That's just fabulous. I didn't even see that until I got the mat out, and then it just went, Eureka! This is it. I could move it over there. That's okay. That's very interesting. Very interesting movement. I actually see that as a forest. You could walk through that path into the horizon. That's an option. That's a bit messy. It needs work. But because I want this to be a full out abstract, I'm going to stick with this. I like the balance of it. I just want to bring out more of the white because it's a little bit messy in that strip that I pointed to. And if I bring it forward, put white on there, it gets rid of the dirty effect, and it makes this whole band that I glued down last, it makes that stand forward and stand on top of the rest. And it helps to balance the white that's in the right of the page over to the left. Now I don't want to see brush strokes, so I'm trying to smudge it a bit. I'll wipe a little back, make it distressed. I hope you can see how adding this white just helps to balance with where my the right side where my knuckles are, the white there, it helps to balance all of that. And then I love how the bottom right of the page with the smudgy swirls, I love how that kind of sweeps up towards the center of the painting and provides a whole bunch of movement to the center of the painting. Even though there's nothing actually painted and standing out in the middle, it draws the eye to the middle. And that's the whole point, is to draw the eye around the page. I'm happy with this. That's really fun. I'm going to dab a little bit more white. And the reason why I keep the frame, the matte there, is because it just really helps confirm to me that this is what the painting needed. And a little bit of white over here, just to draw the eye towards the other white. Oh, so fun. I'm calling this done. This is it for me. It works. I love it. I hope you do too. It's just beautiful, beautiful, happy colors. I like the energy. I like the softness. I like the movement. I'm really, really pleased. I hope you're learning lots from this. Stay tuned next week because I've got more of this, and I love how we're working out of the art journal book now, and we're working on pages that could happily be framed and put up on your wall. So have a great day. See you next time.